So it's that time of year again. It is the spooky season, which means one thing: horror movies. And I cannot wait to talk about this movie. So I have to admit, and I'm trying to tread very carefully when I say this, because I know that Halloween is a franchise that is beloved by so many people. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for the franchise, for the fact that it paved the way for so many amazing movies to come after it. But it's never been one of my all time favourite horror movie franchises where I have to watch a Halloween movie around Halloween time. You know, for me, those are Scream, Chucky, those sort of ones. But at the same time, I do enjoy Rob Zombie's one. I know, don't come after me. I know, unpopular opinion, but I really like Rob Zombie's version of Halloween in the way that it does explore Michael Myers and his background and his childhood. A lot of people think that that somehow takes away what makes Michael scary, but in my opinion, it doesn't. But anyway, I've always liked the first Rob Zombie movie. The second, well, there was unicorns. Enough said. But anyway, in terms of the Halloween 2018 movie, I watched it when it first came out, and I have to admit it didn't really make a huge impression on me. But then I rewatched it again last night, and I have to say I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time around. I really liked it. So, yeah, I don't know why. It's funny how sometimes the second time you watch a movie, you appreciate it a lot more. So I went into Halloween Kills with renewed hope that maybe the Halloween franchise might actually become one of my favourite franchises, that maybe this movie would pave the way for it to really become a regular in my Halloween watching list. But unfortunately, that is not going to happen. I'm just going to say it. I really didn't enjoy this movie. So, one of the things that I had a problem with is the fact that they make Michael so overpowered. I mean, he fights off like 20 firefighters at once, a whole crowd of, a violent mob who have weapons and guns, and he manages to somehow survive a fire. And I don't know if he actually gets burnt in the fire, but he must have really suffered a lot from smoke inhalation, and then he got shot by the mob, and somehow he still survives. And he's meant to be quite an old man in this movie. And it's like, look, it's a horror movie, so I get you have to suspend a certain amount of belief. But at the same time, I feel like to make him that strong, they should just sort of lean into a supernatural aspect of him and make it like that he is more than a man, which is something that they touched on in this movie, that somehow the fear makes him more than a regular man. Like, they should have lent into that and showed him being some sort of supernatural, I don't know, like somehow he has a source of power, because it just doesn't make sense that he would survive all of that. And talking about the fire, okay, maybe this makes me sound horrible, but if I was Laurie Strode, I wouldn't burn down the house, because, I mean, that's her home. That's where she lives. And he's trapped in this cage with bars on it, so why not just shoot him through the cage? That way you get to keep your house and he's dead. It seems like an easier solution to me, but anyway, so the whole violence of this movie, maybe it's because I watched the original 2000, well, not the original, but the 2018 version of Halloween right before I saw this. But it was really fresh in my mind when I watched it, so I realised how much more brutal and violent this movie was. And I'm not a squeamish person by any means, but at the same time, while I don't have a problem with violence, I just think that this lent into gratuitous violence, and it was so unnecessary. The kills didn't need to be as brutal as they were. And it sort of felt like they were somehow trying to make up for the areas of the movie that weren't that good by making, the violence that much more extreme. And extreme violence doesn't make up for a bad script. So one thing that I really did like about the movie was the concept of having a Michael Myers survival group, sort of like an AA meeting, a group of people that were going through all of this trauma that came together to try to deal with their issues of being survivors of Michael Myers. That was a really good idea, a good concept, but bad execution. I just felt like they just put too much focus on these side characters and took the focus off the main characters. Because, like, Laurie Strode is the main character of this movie, and yet they made it seem like she wasn't really a character that was that important. She was mainly lying in a hospital bed for most of this movie. And they sort of made it seem like she wasn't that important to Michael, like he was only coming after her because the doctor, whose name I can't remember, put her in Michael's path. And it's like that sort of undermines the relationship between them that this franchise is built on. And talking about main characters, so the daughter, the granddaughter of Laurie Strode, I have to admit, she really annoyed me. I don't know, something about her character I didn't like. And the fact that she left her grandmother in the hospital with a knife when she knew that Michael was most likely coming to the hospital. And her grandmother was unconscious at the time, so what was she meant to do with a knife? You know? It just felt like that was a really selfish move on behalf of the granddaughter. It just felt like she wanted revenge on her, over her father, more than she wanted to protect the family that she had that was still alive. So I feel like I'm just tearing this movie apart, but I always want to be honest about how I feel about something. There's too many people on this platform not being honest. Anyway, so I just feel like this whole movie was completely unnecessary. But it was just the studios trying to cash in as much as they could on this franchise. And the two movies would have told the story even better, because this just felt like filler to me. And look, even though the original Halloween movie isn't one of my personal favourite horror movies, I still do appreciate the fact that it was done well and it had a lot of tension in it, and this movie just felt like it didn't have any tension in it. And the whole scene with the mob coming after Michael, so basically one of the other mental patients that is on the bus that crashes from the Haddonfield Mental Hospital, he is there and people mistake him for Michael Myers, so they want to come after him in a vigilante-style mob and kill him. And, you know, for some reason it's okay when Batman goes after these people as a vigilante, but when the whole mob does it, it's a little bit too much. And I get that they're trying to make some sort of social commentary on mob violence, but, you know, I get it. I get what they were trying to do. And it was a powerful moment seeing them chase this poor guy and make him jump out of a window and kill himself, because he felt like that was the easier way than them killing him with all their weapons, you know. But at the same time, I just felt like it felt out of place in the movie. So I do appreciate what they were trying to do, because mob violence, I'm sure, is a huge thing, especially these days on both sides of the fence when there's so much people protesting everything, you know. But still, I just felt like it went on a little bit too long, and there was a bit too much emphasis on that particular scene. So basically the mob finally get it right and actually go after the right mental patient and find Michael. And like I said earlier, he survives a massive beating, being shot like 5 times, and then kills the whole mob and proceeds to kill Laurie's daughter. So that's how the movie basically ends. And yeah, I just felt like it was just really unnecessary. I would rate it a 5 out of 10. So let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed it. If you did, great. I don't want to take that away from you. And comment, subscribe, all of that YouTube stuff. You know the drill by now, guys. Thank you.